Welcome to Sustainably Speaking Africa, a podcast about reshaping narratives around sustainability and climate action in Africa. This podcast is brought to you by the Kenya Climate Innovation Centre and is made at Semabox. Join us for this and other episodes as we talk to industry leaders, frontline communities, and the innovators who are accelerating the progress towards a greener, sustainable future. Welcome again to Sustainably Speaking, and as always, please like, share, and subscribe.
Hi everyone, and welcome back to Sustainably Speaking Africa. Today we are joined by the CEO of KCIC, and he'll tell us a bit more about who KCIC is and what they do. CPA Joseph Murabula. He's a pioneer in climate innovation, financing, and green entrepreneurship, and supports startups who address renewable energy, waste management, water efficiency, and sustainable agriculture. He is also a thought leader in climate policy, finance, and innovation systems that empower Africa's low carbon transition. I got all that correct.
Thank you.
Karibu sana. How did you find yourself in the climate world?
Yeah, now that is it's an interesting question. My first interest in the climate space was around 2002. Three of my friends, the late Professor Okidi, had just set up the Center for Advanced Studies in Environmental Law and Policy at the University of Nairobi.
Okay.
Then Maurice Makolo, who's now Kenya's High Commission in the UK, had just gotten a lot of interest in that space. And then Professor Collins Odote, who's now Associate Dean for Law at the University of Nairobi, and Dr. Benson Ochieng, he also teaches law at the University of Nairobi. So the four of them had come up together and formed an organization called the Institute for Law and Environmental Governance. And because they were all lawyers, they decided that they needed somebody to help them sort out the back end system. So accounting, procurement, human resource, and that sort of thing. And so they brought me in. So that became my, what is now called the side hustle. So that was my side hustle. That was my night job, so to speak. So I would work my day job. I was an associate in Deloitte, the accounting firm. And then at night, I would be at ILEG trying to sort out these systems for them and reporting to their donors and that sort of thing. And because of what they were doing, I needed to understand exactly what they do so that then I can help them on the back end. And I realized that they were mostly talking about climate change and the EMCA, the Environment Management and Coordination Act of 1999, it had just come. And then we would do a lot of things through ILEG, support people on programs about securing community assets, train judicial officers, judges, and magistrates. I can actually mention that that's where the idea to start the environment and land courts as a separate division began.
Okay.
Because when they were training magistrates and judges across East Africa, the idea, it began to emerge that environment law is a specialized area. And therefore needed a specialized division of the High Court. So that's where it came from. So one thing led to the other, and I found myself in development banking at the East Africa Development Bank in Uganda. And in development banking, I began to gravitate towards, again, climate issues. And so I got an opportunity in 2010 to attend a fellowship in Denmark.
Okay.
That time, carbon markets was a new thing, and green energy was still a new thing. So Denmark came up with a fellowship on carbon markets and green energy, and they were taking people from around the world to attend that fellowship. So I went there for 3 weeks, and as part of the the course, each one of us was supposed to design a business plan on how they were going to use that knowledge when they come back home.
Okay.
And so I wrote this nice business plan of how I'm going to support mostly renewable energy projects, how I was going to identify them, and then how I was going to support them to become commercial enterprises. And so I came back. So as I was thinking about it, I ran into a gentleman called Luca Brusa. Luca Brusa is still in the UN system.
Okay.
And he said that he was trying to do an outreach program where he decentralizes the work of the UN Framework Convention on Climate Change, which is now called the UN Climate. And he was now looking for institutions across Africa who can then be able to do that for him. And I picked interest.
Okay.
And so I went to my, my bosses then at the bank and asked them if I can do this. And so they agreed. And that's how we ended up setting up what is now called the RCC, the renewable, the Regional Collaboration Center for CDM.
Okay.
CDM, the Clean Development Mechanism, was how the UN was supporting clean enterprises across the continent. And so I set it up at I helped set it up at the East African Development Bank as a collaboration between the East African Development Bank and the UNFCCC. It is still there up to now, doing very good work across the 23 countries of Anglophone Africa. So East Africa and West Africa, and all this Anglophone Africa. After a while, I came back and of course continued to do work across climate enterprises, mostly supporting renewable energies, but now on the larger scale. So supporting that. And in 2017 then, I got an opportunity to found an organization called KIFWA, the Kenya Innovative Finance Facility for Water, which is a climate water fund, so to speak. And so with the support of the Dutch government. So I set it up and then created a business model for it as a co-developer of water initiatives, which is, of course, water is everything climate. And that is how I sort of got very interested in this space. And then in 2022, towards the end of 2022, then I got this opportunity to come and lead the work of the Kenya Climate Innovation Center, where we basically support. We are set up as an incubator and accelerator. We are the largest in the continent. And so our work is to bring ideas to life and support them to become businesses, so to speak.
Okay. What kind of ideas have you managed to bring to life?
Yeah, is ideas that are good for climate, but basically around 5 thematic areas. So these are renewable energy technologies and ideas. These are agricultural ideas and technologies. These are ideas around waste management. These are ideas around forestry, and these are ideas around water. So ideas, innovations, technologies. And then the way we do is then support them through 5 pillars, through what we call access to finance, basically making sure that they have suitable finance for the product, for the stage of growth where they are, through what is called information access. Mostly this around information, this around market information, ensuring that they have the right kind of information about what's happening in the market and where opportunities are. And then we also do policy support. This is where we work now with government to ensure that there's an enabling environment to enable these organizations thrive. And then business advisory, because this climate innovations generally are identified at a very early stage. So the most people with those ideas come with them when they are at idea stage, but they need support. They need that hand-holding to enable them become businesses. So we support them in terms of advice. What the first thing we basically do is what is called a gap analysis. The ambition is to have a thriving commercial enterprise, but you are still at an idea stage.
Yes.
So what is needed to get you there? And so we then pair them with somebody we call a business advisor within KCIC, who then looks at this gap and figures out how do we support this person. We can deliver that support ourselves internally, or we could hire a consultant to deliver that kind of support. And it's usually around product development, technical assistance, strategy, marketing, financial modeling, fundraising, investment readiness, and that sort of thing. Then finally, we provide support around what we call facilities. Facilities are basically generally of two kinds. The facilities we provide. So initially, because these people come to us when they're just still idea, they are still not economically well off, they probably can't afford an office to work from. And so we provide them with a co-working space. So in all our offices, we have what's called an incubation space, but basically it's a co-working space where people now collaborate to bring ideas into life. So you get a desk, you get a chair, you get a locker, you get office coffee and tea, and that sort of thing. But more importantly is to be able to move from idea to a product that can be given to the market. So we also now provide product development facilities. These are real machines. These are real technologies. We don't have internal capacity to do that. And so what we do is we have collaborations with other institutions. Universities, industrial institutes, the Kenya Industrial Research and Development Institute. And so those are the people now we use to support our entrepreneurs to be able to create their products, because they have the machines, but importantly, they have the scientists who then are able to help them in terms of formulations, in terms of standardization, and in terms of just ensuring that they have a quality product that can be given to the market. And then initially, of course, once the products are set, the products are not set for as an end in themselves. You need to be able to sell. That means you have to produce at scale. But initially, you don't have a factory to produce. So what they then do is provide them with production facilities on what's called a timeshare basis. So I set up the machine for you. You come and do your production for 2 hours, pack, go and sell. The next guy comes, like that. So basically, that is that's what we do.
And in the course of doing your work, one of the things you've talked about is financing and some of the gaps that you've seen in financing that have resulted in what is happening today with the summit. Tell us a bit about the thinking behind the summit. And this will be a two-pronged question, and the podcast, because we are having the initial episodes of the podcast aside from the summit on the same day.
Now, about the summit. So the summit is set as a continent-wide event. Because, and that is for two reasons. One, the kind of challenge we try to address, that's the challenge of climate, doesn't understand boundaries. It doesn't know borders. It doesn't know time zones. It doesn't know geographical location, and it probably doesn't even know time horizon, because the climate change we experience now is probably something that came out of the Industrial Revolution. Many years ago. And so you need to address this at scale and a wider geographical scale. And so that's why we set this up as a continent-wide event. And then secondly, we as KCIC, we figured that we can have more impact and support our entrepreneurs better if we convert ourselves into a Pan-African institution rather than just remain a Kenyan institution. And so we did a new strategy, what we call KCIC 4.0. And under that strategy, the focus is to turn ourselves into a Pan-African catalyst for climate entrepreneurship, supporting climate enterprise across the continent. And so everything we do has got to be aligned with the aspirations of Africa as a continent, rather than just Kenya as a nation. And that's why we have the backdrop of, that's why we are doing this as an African event, because we would like to bring in investment into the continent of Africa, and not just into a country called Kenya, because opportunity is continent-wide. Now, secondly, you may realize that the enterprises we support come to us when the ideas, but then as time goes by, they grow and scale. And many of them begin to look for opportunities beyond Kenya.
Yes.
And so you find them now, we have quite a number now doing stuff in Congo, doing stuff in Uganda, doing stuff in Nigeria, doing stuff in Egypt, doing stuff in South Africa. But when they get there, the market conditions are those of a beginner. They're those of a beginner. And so they face the same challenge trying to scale compared to an established organization. And so we realize that we can support them a lot better if we already, operating in that. We can help solve some of the barriers if we already operating in those markets. And that's why we decided that, it's easier to scale these enterprises. We can scale them faster if we are a continent-wide operation rather than just a Kenya operation. And so we did a pilot, mostly covering the East African countries. And we actually found that there's quite a lot of demand for the services we offer in those countries. And that's why now we decided that our geography is going to be Africa. And at the very global level, you realize the continent has agreed to work together through Agenda 2063, through mechanisms like Africa Continental Free Trade Area. But then for us in the climate space, we see that now every 2 years we have the Africa Climate Summit, where the continent comes together to discuss the issue of climate in the context of Africa. And so that is the context in which we need to solve. And at that level, at the Africa Climate Summit level, usually you get two kind of pronouncements. You get political pronouncements and you get policy pronouncements from there. So the Africa Climate Investment Summit now is supposed to translate those into practical investment solutions. The presidents of Africa will say, we need to mobilize $50 billion dollars for climate annually. And they stop there. So
how will it get there?
Exactly. So how do we get it done? So this is now supposed to now have a conversation about how that gets done.
Fantastic. On collaboration, before we continue on the financing bit, how are you mentioned working in different countries, both in the entire Africa. How are you able to do that? Are there other CICs? Are there other innovation centers you're working with? How do you manage to do it?
We found that the most powerful way of working is actually through partnerships and collaborations. And so the issue for us is now to map the ecosystem, the climate ecosystem across the continent. Who is doing what where? Now, the climate ecosystem basically has several actors. It has incubators like ourselves. It has accelerators like ourselves. It has policy people, mostly governments. It has think tanks. It has innovators. It has researchers. It has technology providers. And so you need to map who's doing what, where, and then begin to look at how do you now work with the entire ecosystem rather than just working ourselves. And so the idea is to create collaborations across. Now, there will be collaborations of execution, where we come and say all these actors, everybody can find their place, and then we work with them. And then there are collaborations of geography, where now we're saying, fine, you are seated in Kenya. It might not be easy for you to implement something in northern Tanzania. So how do you do that? So now you find country partners. Now for where there are other climate innovation centers, now they become natural partners because they already understand what we do.
Yes.
And all they need to do is basically further it and then just figure out if this is a KCIC project, how do we work in collaboration as it is. But there are those countries where there are no climate innovation centers.
Okay.
And so the idea now is to identify an institution that aligns with us in terms of mission and then collaborate with them. Now for Rwanda, for instance, we're working with an organization called NOSCAN. NOSCAN is an accelerator. So they provide co-working spaces, support businesses with access to funding, policy, and that sort of thing. So we work with them now in Rwanda.
Okay.
And then for other countries, we look for an organization that is aligned. There are times when it could be that we think the best way to deliver it is to set up another CIC.
Yeah.
In those years, like now we are doing in Uganda.
Okay.
So we are now having a conversation with the government of Uganda. We've at least reached the MOU stage where we support them to set up a climate innovation center, be their mentor for a couple of years, and then leave it to them. So collaborations, partnerships, the issue is just how to structure them so that they work to realize that common objective, which is to support climate enterprise.
Fantastic. You're doing good things, things. Earlier you had mentioned that when there's the Africa Climate Summit, there are two pronouncements, the political ones and the technical, the technical ones.
Yeah.
So my question for you there is, how are you able to merge these two conversations and come out with policies that eventually make sense to all of us? Because sometimes political pronouncements end there.
Yes.
There's no follow-up, there's no...
Yes, that's why they're called political.
That's why they're called political.
Yes,
but there are times we've seen political pronouncements are actually brought down and broken down.
Yeah.
How are you able to do that, if at all?
Yeah. So you see, the by and large, the Africa Climate Summit is a political event.
Yes.
By and large, headlined by the heads of state and managed by the Africa Union Secretariat through what they call the Committee of Head of States and Government on climate change. and so they look at things at very high level and they look at things that would ensure African sovereignty.
Yeah.
Because, in the world is of course changing, but if you look at the earlier climate discourses, the world was basically divided into two. What we now call the global north, or they were called the developed countries, who were considered the cause of climate change. They were the emitters. And then you had the least developed countries, still depending on natural resources, who are we now call the global south, but they were now the least emitters, but most vulnerable.
Yes.
The impact was greater here. The cost is low, impact is great. The other side, impact is low, but the cost is bigger. Yeah, and so the idea now at Africa Climate Summit level is now to come up with African sovereignty. You see, figure out, are there those challenges that are unique to the continent and which we need to be able to communicate to the other side about the fact that we think these are unique to us and we need to be allowed to solve them in our unique way.
Yes,
so to speak. So there are those kind of pronouncements.
Okay.
And so now, in terms of doing policy, because you know that this pronouncement is here, we need local solutions, but those local solutions need a lot of support, be it technical assistance in terms of technology or be it funding. And so how do we therefore now work with the other side to be able to ensure this happens? That there's technology transfer, there's funding transfer, and then there is, in the international mechanism, a lot of tranquility so that these things can work. Because if you don't manage them nicely, they can also lead to dislocation.
Yes.
So now, the work of people like ourselves is now to find space around here. If you take something like technology transfer, for instance, you then try to figure out what technologies are coming up that side and how do we translate that to on ground support.
Yes.
And so we see which ones we should incubate and how they should cooperate with the other side. Now, if it's something like funding flows, there will be political pronouncements on this side. There will be political pronouncements are all over. And so now the policy is to try to find a coordination mechanism where we can work together. And so we try then to see where there's opportunity for the countries to work together and then be able to support that. And if you've looked at this space, you realize that, money may flow into incubators and accelerators like ourselves, but in reality, it first flows to the country.
Yes.
Through what you call North-South cooperation or country-to-country or bilateral cooperations between countries. It's only when that has happened that then we get a window of opportunity to be able to raise money. Is I think either last year but one at the COP in Dubai, you saw a bilateral agreement between, say, the UK and Kenya, and very many projects being announced.
Yes.
So we then now take it from there and say, fine, so there's this, Kenya and the UK want to cooperate on 1, 2, 3 projects.
Yeah.
How do we then come in ourselves, given what we do? And so we align ourselves accordingly to be able to tap into that opportunity.
All right. I need us to wrap up, but 2 questions for you.
Yeah.
One which you hadn't answered earlier. What made you think of starting a podcast on sustainability?
Yes. No, very, very good question. It's all about education. And we were doing a program we call SWIFT, Sustainable Waste Innovations in a Future in Transition. What we quickly discovered is that this was actually something extremely new. Nobody else was doing it, trying to create new business models in the waste management sector.
Okay.
Because what was happening before then is we had what you call a collect, package and reuse model, where you, for instance, in your house, you have a dustbin where you put waste. Yeah. You then put it outside. There's a company that will come and collect it. Then they will take it to the dump site, say in Dandora, and then somebody will come and pick the waste from there and then sell. And then it's recycled, and that's the end of story. Yeah. And then we figured now that's very linear. It's moving from one point to the other. It's very, very linear. Now, how do we ensure that then we don't really have waste as it is, so that every inch of waste becomes an input into the next process, and then the process comes 360 degrees. Yes. And so we started SWIFT, and we were supported ably by a foundation called the IKEA Foundation. IKEA is a Swedish
the furniture one.
Yeah, but it has a foundation which is headquartered in the Netherlands.
Okay.
And they gave us funding to be able to do this. And we went through our normal process, and which involves a call for applications. Then these applications are put before an independent jury, a jury that doesn't involve KCIC. Yes. And then that jury is the one that decides these are good innovations for you to support. And then, surprisingly, we began to see very interesting things flowing from there. Yeah. For instance, if I were to give you an example, do you know that if you look around here, you see a lot of, these wires, chargers, and stuff. Now, if you try to find out where most of this come from, you will actually find that we actually import most of them from China. Yes. So when you buy a phone, it comes with a charger. That charger is made somewhere in China. When you buy a laptop, it comes with a charger. It's made somewhere in China. A lot of what I see here are chargers that are basically made there. And so this company that now comes up and says, I want you guys to support me. I'm going to make all these things from waste.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'll go to dump sites, pick up all the plastic waste that has been put there. You will support me to buy a machine It's in India, and I will make phone chargers and laptop chargers that are twice in length and durable 3 times more than the ones you buy from China now, and charge faster than, isn't it? And then he actually came up with that idea. Then there's the guy who came and said, look, all of you guys here buy gas. You go to Shell, you go to Total. Using West, I can make gas. Okay. And then he came up with that concept. We were all surprised. These people can actually make gas from West. Yeah. So you go to the dump sites, pick up all manner of waste there, and then there are these all nice complicated machines. You take them through, and it actually comes gas, and actually it cooks just as well as the gas that we use. And then it's a guy who comes up and says, in these many construction sites, there's always a parking, and that parking is actually made of cabro, of this cabro. We don't necessarily have to start looking for concrete to do cabro. We can make cabro from West. Yeah, and he comes up and says, all I need the support from you is machine. Remember, all these things are things we had never thought about.
Yes.
We knew that there's a lot more in West, but we hadn't thought about them. And so we figured there must be a lot more out there that people are not talking about. And so we said the idea of a podcast can be a very good educational medium. Where these entrepreneurs actually come and talk about these opportunities. Because remember, as entrepreneurs, they don't toy with one idea, they toy with several.
Yes.
So a guy is making West from, chargers from West, but he's also thinking, fine, now what is my next step? Yeah, and this other guy is making gas. But then he's also trying to figure out what else can be.
Yes.
Yeah, and then people come up with things like, now I can create a Uber for West, where now I have all this ecosystem that I map, and then create an app whereby if you go there, whose West is ready for picking, and then you connect them to the best available means of transport and the best available route. So you onboard all these people on your. So we said, fine, let's come up with a podcast for education. It's mostly for these entrepreneurs to talk about these opportunities and the kind of support that is needed. For us as KCIC, our job is to give that medium to the entrepreneurs so that they can begin to educate people, including educate us ourselves. Because we've created the platform, but the reason we exist is to support them. And if we are supporting 110 enterprises through that program, through a multiplier effect, through education, how many more people can understand the opportunity that's available in West? Because if you look at data, people say West is the biggest green opportunity, isn't it?
Yeah.
But it's very difficult unless you bring these people, bring the actual innovators on the table to understand that just how is that an opportunity. It's only after you bring them that then they talk to talk to people, and then they're able to bring out the opportunity. So we need this podcast then to be able to be a medium where everybody around the country can be able to see the opportunity for themselves, for their communities, and for others, and hopefully take advantage of it. I needed to mention that one of the foundational principles of KCIC is to one, find opportunity in the climate crisis, but then take advantage of that opportunity at the intersection of innovation and enterprise. And this is basically what this should be able to bring up. What sort of innovations are there? What sort of enterprises you can create from there at a wider scale, reach more people with this opportunity.
All right, fantastic. That's very forward thinking. So from what you've done, the journey that you've walked us through, the way you've created opportunities for innovators and including the podcast. Upon your retirement, what do you hope your legacy will be for KCIC?
that's why we did this KCIC 4.0 strategy. So I would like to see a Pan-African institution, an institution working across the entire continent. If I can see that, I'll be a happy man in retirement. I want to be able, when I retire and I'm now traveling, I have time to travel. I want to be able to land in Nigeria and see KCIC doing work or, success of KCIC, whatever it will be. I want to be able to land in Ivory Coast. I want to be able to land in Cameroon and see things that are inspired by KCIC. Now, that would be a good legacy. And then, secondly, I want to see an institution that is working for the whole ecosystem, not just individual enterprises, as it is. In other words, an institution that is building the highway, not just the Ferrari.
Not just the Ferrari. Okay.
Not just the Ferrari. Because
we love that.
You can build a Ferrari, but that Ferrari, the day it breaks down, you need a mechanic.
Yes.
Yeah. So you need somebody to provide a solution. That Ferrari needs fuel stations to be able to get gas or to get petrol, so to speak. That Ferrari needs good roads to travel on. So I want to see a KCIC that is working to support the whole ecosystem, because that way we can do more with the limited resources. Because you see, as we are having this conversation around the Africa Climate Investment Summit, one of the things you realize is that funding has been flowing from the West or from the global North. But that funding has two basic problems. One is declining in quantity, in amount. But secondly, it comes with too many conditions such that it's almost difficult to access it. And if you access it, sometimes you get to the finish line when you're very tired, so to speak. So there's going to be a lot less dependence on that and a lot more on homegrown solutions. And so we need to be able to do a lot more with less. And that is possible when you work as a team, collaborate across the whole ecosystem. In KCIC, for instance, over the last 13 years, we have supported 3,500 enterprises, but that has been out of more than 50,000 applications. So the question is, these other 47,000, where are they?
Where are they?
Yeah, where are they? So, and if you look at numbers, you realize that 3,500 is only 7% of the applications you get. In other words, 93% of all the people who need you are not getting that support. And the limitation is resources. So you need to be able to do more with the limited resources, with what you have, so to speak. And that's only possible if you bring that efficiency where everybody does what they do best, and you focus on coordinating the entire system. And so if I can see a Pan-African organization, I can see an organization supporting a whole ecosystem, then
you'd be very happy.
Happily retired.
We hope to see all that. May it be so. We look forward to seeing KCIC scale and continue to do fantastic things. Thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate you. Karibu sana. And thank you so much to our viewers. We will see you in the next episode.